My journey to fluent English. When I was 20 years old, I could understand some English, but not very well. My vocabulary was limited, my accent was thick, and I often had to think in my native language before attempting to translate my thoughts into English. This process slowed me down, and often people couldn't understand what I was trying to say. In short, my English needed improvement, but I was determined to find a way to change that. I knew that improving my English would open doors for better opportunities, especially in terms of jobs and social interactions. I thought to myself, what kinds of opportunities will I have if I don't master this language? That question alone was enough to motivate me to take my first steps toward learning English fluently. One day, while watching TV, I came across an advertisement for an English fluency coach. His name was Mr. Smith, and he guaranteed that his students could become fluent in English within a year. The ad claimed that students who followed his program would speak English better than those who had been learning for 10 years. It seemed like a miracle solution, but of course there was a catch. Mr. Smith only offered private lessons, and the cost was steep, $50 per hour, far beyond what I could afford at that time. I wondered how he achieved such incredible results, but didn't even bother calling because I knew I couldn't afford his services. Instead, I thought to myself, if he can figure out a way to teach people English in a year, maybe I can figure out my own way too. That was the beginning of my journey. I went to the local library and borrowed as many books as I could find on English fluency. I decided to focus on books written by native speakers because I believed that learning directly from natives would give me the best insights. As I worked through these books, I kept a dictionary by my side to look up unfamiliar words. After reading about 10 books, I noticed a pattern. Many of the strategies repeated the same advice. Listen, read, use what you've learned, and build vocabulary. I tried applying these strategies, but I quickly realized something. While I was getting better at understanding English, my speaking ability wasn't improving much. Frustrated, I continued reading more books, hoping to find the solution I was looking for. In total, I read about 60 books, but they all seemed to offer the same advice, and none of it was helping me speak more fluently. After feeling stuck for a while, I decided to try a new approach. Instead of focusing on books written by native speakers, I turned to books written by non-native English speakers who had successfully mastered the language. These were people who had gone through the same struggles I was facing and had come out the other side fluent in English. To my surprise, the non-native speakers' books offered similar advice to the ones written by native speakers, with one important difference: repetition. They emphasized repeating what you hear over and over again until it sticks. This was something the books by native speakers didn't focus on as much, but it made a huge difference for me. Among all the books I read, there was one that stood out, but it wasn't even about learning English. It was a self-help book by David Johnson on success and goal setting. At first, I wasn't sure if it would help, but as I read it, I realized that achieving fluency in English was just like any other big goal. It required setting clear objectives, creating a plan, and staying committed. Inspired by that, I combined the strategies from both the native and non-native speaker books and created my own learning system, which I called the Fluent English Method. My method was simple. I would immerse myself in English every single day and repeat everything I heard until I could say it fluently. At the time, I lived in East Chicago, and my daily commute to work involved a 50-minute train ride each way. I saw this as the perfect opportunity to practice. I bought a cheap Walkman and started listening to English radio shows during my commute. I'd tune into National Public Radio, NPR, which had news programs that were perfect for learning formal English. There was a challenge, though. As soon as I entered the subway station, the radio signal would disappear. To solve this problem, I started recording the news every night and playing it back during my train rides the next day. I began whispering along with the recordings at first, but soon I started speaking out loud. The subway was noisy enough that no one could hear me, so I wasn't embarrassed to practice speaking out loud in public. In the beginning, I struggled. There were many words I didn't understand, and the news was spoken too quickly for me to keep up. But I stuck with it. When I came across a word or phrase I couldn't pronounce, I would rewind the tape and listen to it again until I could say it correctly. I repeated difficult words over and over again, sometimes saying them aloud 3 or 4 times before moving on. After 3 months of this daily practice, I decided to record myself speaking English to see how much I had improved. To my amazement, I was speaking more fluently than I had ever expected. My accent was still there, but it had softened considerably. My confidence was growing. Encouraged by my progress, I adjusted my approach slightly. Instead of recording new news programs every day, I started listening to the same recording for an entire week. This allowed me to master every word, sentence, and tone before moving on to the next recording. By the end of each week, I could practically recite the news program from memory. After a month of doing this, I had mastered 4 full news programs, each about an hour long. The results were incredible. My fluency improved dramatically, and my accent almost completely disappeared. I was able to speak with the same flow and rhythm as the native speakers I had been listening to. Not only could I understand English better, but I could also finally speak it with confidence and clarity. Looking back, the key to my success wasn't just about learning vocabulary or grammar. It was about immersing myself in the language every day and repeating what I heard until it became second nature. That's the power of the fluent English method: consistent practice and repetition. If you're struggling with learning a new language, remember this. It's not about being perfect right away. It's about persistence, repetition, and finding opportunities to practice in your everyday life. Whether you're commuting, walking, or doing chores, you can turn that time into valuable learning moments. Stick with it, and you'll be amazed at how far you can go. Mastering Fluent English: My Personal Journey. When I reached my early 20s, I had a basic understanding of English. But it wasn't enough to carry meaningful conversations. My vocabulary was quite limited, my accent was thick, and I always thought in my native language first, translating sentences into English before speaking. Unfortunately, this method made my communication slow and difficult to understand. I knew my English needed significant improvement, and I was determined to find a way to change that. After months of consistent effort, I started to notice a major improvement. One day, while speaking with a friend over the phone, something unexpected happened. Midway through our conversation, my friend paused and asked, "What did you do?" Confused, I replied, "What do you mean?" He responded, "Your English, it's really good." The way he said good, with such sincerity and warmth, made me realize how far I had come. It wasn't just a casual compliment. It was a heartfelt acknowledgement that I had made real progress. A couple of weeks later, two of my cousins, both native English speakers, approached me and asked, "How is your English so good, but your siblings haven't improved?" This kind of feedback further solidified my belief that the effort I was putting into my English learning journey was paying off. But I didn't stop there. I continued working on my English fluency long after that moment. Even as life changed and my circumstances evolved, I remained committed to improving my language skills. Eventually, I developed a new strategy, which I called the open throat method. This method became my secret weapon for sounding more native in English. It involved speaking from the diaphragm, letting the voice flow naturally from the stomach, and opening the throat. This method helped me achieve a native-like fluency. I'll share more details about it later, but for now, let me tell you about an experience that confirmed just how far I'd come. A moment of validation. When my son was in first grade, he invited me to be a guest reader in his class. His teacher, initially skeptical, was clearly worried that I might not speak English well enough to engage her students. I could sense her hesitation. However, once I began reading to the class, the teacher's expression completely changed. She looked shocked, her eyes wide open as if she couldn't believe what she was hearing. After a few moments, she smiled and even pulled out her camera to take pictures. She asked if she could feature me in the school's newsletter and later invited me to participate in more class activities. The reaction of my son's teacher confirmed something important. I had reached a new level of fluency, a level where I could confidently speak English like a native speaker. It felt empowering to know that people were not only understanding me, but also impressed by my fluency. The open throat method. So, what is this open throat method? As I mentioned earlier, it's a technique I developed to improve not just the pronunciation of words, but the entire flow of speech. It focuses on how you use your body to produce sound. Specifically, the key is to open your throat, speak from your diaphragm, and use energy from your stomach to project your voice. By doing this, you allow the air to flow freely from your lungs, making your speech sound more natural and less strained. I first heard about a similar concept from my daughter's school choir teacher. The teacher explained to the class that when people sing with a chicken throat, a tight, restricted throat, their voice lacks power and resonance. The same principle applies to speaking. When you're nervous or shy, you might unconsciously tighten your throat, making your speech sound awkward and hesitant. But by opening your throat and speaking with confidence, your voice becomes clearer and more powerful. If you're afraid of making mistakes while speaking English, you might unintentionally close off your throat out of fear or embarrassment. Let me tell you this. It's completely normal to make mistakes when speaking a foreign language. The key is to be confident, open your throat, and speak with energy. It's all part of the process of improving your fluency. The Fluent English Formula, though, I also want to share with you a 3-step method I developed called the Fluent English Formula. This formula was instrumental in helping me achieve native-level fluency, and it's something you can follow too. 1. Set your goal. The first step is to be clear about what you want. In this case, your goal is to speak English fluently or even at a native level. Setting a clear goal gives you a target to aim for. The word decide comes from a Latin word that means To cut off. Once you've decided that you want to speak fluent English, you need to cut off any distractions or doubts and focus solely on achieving that goal. The clearer your target, the easier it will be for your brain to guide you toward success. 2. Take action. Setting a goal is important, but nothing will change unless you take action. It doesn't matter how much potential you have. The results come from what you do. When I decided I wanted to speak fluent English, I took action every day. I practiced speaking, listened to native speakers, and used every opportunity to improve. The same applies to you. If you want to speak English fluently, you need to take concrete steps toward that goal. 3. Follow through. The final step is consistency. Once you've set your goal and started taking action, you need to keep going day by day. Just like lifting weights, you don't start by lifting 300 pounds. You begin with a small weight and gradually increase the load. The same principle applies to learning English. Start with simple conversations and small vocabulary. Gains over time. You'll build fluency little by little. When I first started working on my English, I took one small action each day. After a few months of consistent effort, I had improved so much that people were complimenting me on my English. The small daily actions added up to significant results. Conclusion. If you've ever felt nervous or unsure about your ability to learn a new language, remember this. It's not about being perfect on the first try. It's about setting a goal, taking consistent action, and sticking with it, even when progress feels slow. By using the fluent English formula and applying techniques like the open throat method, you can significantly improve your fluency over time. Whether you're practicing English on your commute, in front of a mirror, or with a friend, stay focused on your goal and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Those mistakes are part of the learning process. If you follow through with determination, soon enough, you'll find yourself speaking English with confidence, clarity, and fluency. The path to fluent English. My practice journey. Mastering fluent English didn't happen overnight. After 6 months of practicing daily, I began to see progress. My speech, once hesitant and broken, became smoother and more natural. But the journey didn't stop there. It was by building my fluency bit by bit, day after day, that I reached the level I wanted. After another 3 months of focused effort, I found myself speaking fluent English, something that once seemed impossible. If you work on your English just 1% every day, imagine where you could be 6 months from now. You'd likely have achieved a level of fluency you never thought possible. The Fluent English Formula. Let's review the 3 steps that form my fluent English formula. Set your goal. Be clear about what you want. Your goal might be to speak English fluently or even at a native level. Setting a clear goal gives you a target to aim for. As Helen Keller once said, "Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all. Take action." Knowing your goal is important, but nothing will change unless you take consistent action toward it. Follow through. Consistency is key. By taking small, deliberate steps each day, you'll build your skills gradually over time. The power of practice. The one-word secret. Now that you know the formula, it's time to focus on the most important element: practice. Just knowing the steps isn't enough. Let me illustrate this point with a comparison. Let's say you want to learn Kung Fu. You've watched Kung Fu movies, instructional videos, and even observed Kung Fu masters. You know all the moves required to fight 10 opponents. But now you're facing 10 people in real life. Can you defeat them? The answer is obvious: no. Knowing the techniques is not enough. You have to train your body and mind to fight those 10 people. The same principle applies to speaking English. Simply knowing how to speak English isn't enough to achieve fluency. You have to practice, and I mean really practice. Open your throat, relax your tongue, loosen your muscles, and control the flow of your speech. Prepare both your mind and body for speaking English fluently. Just like Kung Fu, practice is the key. Where to practice? Anywhere. On public transport. If you commute by train or bus, you're in luck. These environments are excellent for practicing. When I was learning, I would find a quiet corner on the train and practice speaking out loud. Don't whisper. Whispering won't help you build confidence or the right vocal habits. Speak out loud as if you're talking on the phone. Use your phone as a prop. Put on headphones and pretend you're in a conversation. This way you can practice in public without drawing too much attention. In your car. The car is my favorite place to practice. It offers privacy and freedom to go all out in your practice. I would turn up the volume on English audio content and mimic everything I heard. From tone to rhythm, I matched the speaker's flow and expressions. No one was around to hear me, so I could practice with full confidence. Just remember, practice your speaking, not reckless driving. At home while cooking or doing chores. Cooking at home? That's a perfect opportunity to practice English. Whether preparing breakfast or dinner, I used my headphones to practice speaking. Routine activities like cooking or cleaning free your mind to focus on language practice. During outdoor activities, running, jogging, or walking around the neighborhood can also be great opportunities to practice. Use your headphones and repeat after native speakers, focusing on pronunciation and intonation. Physical activity combined with mental focus enhances learning and makes practice feel less tedious. Choosing the right materials. The materials you select are critical. They determine whether you learn to speak correct or incorrect English. Pick one accent. Decide whether you want to speak British or American English. These accents differ significantly. To speak like a native, focus on one accent and immerse yourself in materials that use it. Consistency is key. Once you've mastered one, you can learn the other later. Stay focused. As Bruce Lee once said, the successful warrior is the average man with laser-like focus. Scattered focus leads to scattered results. Choose one accent, one set of materials, and stick with them. Choosing the right accent and materials. Once you've chosen your accent, it's time to pick the right materials. Learning from native speakers in real-life situations is essential. Watching movies, listening to podcasts, and imitating daily conversations will help you develop natural, authentic English. When selecting materials, align them with your chosen accent. For instance, if you focus on British English, choose books, videos, and listening materials that exclusively use British English. Similarly, if you choose American English, stick to content reflecting American usage. This focused approach ensures consistency in your learning and helps you develop a clear, authentic accent. Once you've mastered one accent, you can explore the other, but avoid switching back and forth prematurely. It could hinder your progress. Imagine standing in front of two boats, one heading toward British English and the other to American English. Both can take you to fluency, but you can only ride one at a time. Stay committed to your chosen boat until you reach your destination. Exposure to authentic language. A key to sounding like a native speaker is immersing yourself in authentic language use. Avoid overly formal or outdated materials. For example, a textbook might say, "Mr. Wong, this is Mr. Chen. How do you do?" In real life, people say, "Hey, Dan, meet Bill. How's it going, Bill?" Look for podcasts, shows, and books that reflect how native speakers interact in everyday life. This will help you build practical speaking skills. Materials with unrealistic scenarios won't prepare you for real-world communication. Leveraging technology for practice. Thanks to modern technology, practicing English has never been easier. Here are some tips. Use noise-canceling headphones for focused listening in noisy environments. Over-the-ear headphones are excellent for eliminating distractions, while in-ear isolation headphones are portable and affordable. Practice speaking in natural environments as well, without relying too heavily on technology. This will help you adapt to real-world situations where background noise is unavoidable. Setting clear, actionable goals. Your goal is the foundation of your learning journey. Make it specific. Define exactly what you want to achieve. Motivating. Choose a goal that inspires or drives you. Firm. Let your goal act as an unchanging rock that keeps you focused. For example, I will speak fluent English in 1 year to improve my career prospects. This goal is specific, time-bound, and realistic. Inspiration versus desperation. Motivation comes from two main sources. Inspiration, positive aspirations, such as traveling comfortably or securing a better job. Desperation, necessity-driven goals, such as avoiding limited job opportunities or overcoming exclusion in English-speaking settings. Whatever your reason, let it drive you forward, even when progress feels slow. Taking action, the power of consistency. Once your goal is set, take action. Here's how. Immerse yourself daily. Listen to podcasts, watch movies, and read books in English. Practice speaking. Join language exchange programs. Practice with friends. Speak aloud to yourself if no partner is available. Remember, making mistakes is part of the learning process. The more you use the language, the faster you'll improve. By committing to consistent practice, immersing yourself in authentic materials, and staying focused on your goal, you can achieve English fluency. With time and effort, you'll confidently speak English like a native speaker. Now take the first step and start practicing. You already have everything you need. The final step. Following through fluency in English is not achieved overnight. It requires perseverance, patience, and unwavering commitment to your goals. Regularly track your progress and celebrate small victories, whether it's mastering a tricky pronunciation or understanding a challenging conversation. Even when the journey feels tough, remind yourself why you started. With consistent effort and dedication, you'll reach your goal. Fluency, a step-by-step process. Becoming fluent in English, particularly like a native speaker, involves clear focus. Decide on a specific goal. The right materials. Choose authentic resources aligned with your chosen accent. Consistent practice. Immerse yourself in English daily. A strong goal. Let your motivation drive you forward. Whether you choose British or American English, staying committed to your plan and using technology wisely will ensure success. Remember, persistence is the key to achieving fluency. Chapter 2. The Power of Desperation and Determination. My story. Desperation as a catalyst. I was desperate. I knew if I didn't take action to fix my broken English, I'd be stuck doing labor-intensive work for the rest of my life. Physically exhausting tasks under the sun, day after day. But I wanted more. I dreamed of a better life, and I realized mastering English was the key to unlocking those opportunities. Speaking fluent English wasn't just about communication. It was about transformation. Instead of wearing dirty, rough clothes, I envisioned myself in a suit, working in an air-conditioned office, managing tasks and collaborating with clients. For me, fluency meant dignity and comfort, a future worth striving for. Your reason, the foundation of motivation. What drives you to want to speak English fluently? What pushes you to improve, even when it feels challenging? Having a reason that resonates with your heart is essential. It's the foundation that keeps you going when times get tough. Inspiration from others. Take Ken, for example, a country boy who struggled academically and dropped out of school. Despite his setbacks, Ken decided to learn English at the age of 20. Within 6 months, he achieved fluency. His determination made his success possible. If Ken can do it, why can't you? Desperation is fuel. Sometimes, motivation comes from desperation. Example 1. If I keep speaking poor English, I'll remain in labor work. But if I become fluent, I can work in an office, earn more money, and live a comfortable life. Example 2. If I don't improve, I'll never land my dream job. But fluency can help me secure that job and afford my dream home on the hill. Desperation gives you a clear view of what's at stake, both the pain of staying where you are and the pleasure of achieving your goals. The power of writing down goals. Write down your goals. Putting your ambitions on paper turns them into something tangible. Place your written goal where you'll see it daily. On your desk, your bedroom ceiling, or even in your wallet. This repetition keeps your goal top of mind, reminding you why you're working so hard. As the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. Keeping your goal visible ensures it stays in focus. The 80-20 rule for success. Here's a surprising truth. 80% of your success depends on your goal. 20% of your success depends on your effort. A powerful, compelling goal naturally fuels the work required to achieve it. When your heart is in it, motivation flows effortlessly. Without a clear goal, it's easy to lose direction. But with one, you'll always know why you're putting in the effort. Stories of success. Thomas Watson. Thomas Watson, who was fired from his job, turned his frustration into determination. He didn't just look for another job. He set a goal to start his own company and compete with the very business that dismissed him. Conclusion. Fluency in English requires focus, commitment, and the willingness to push through challenges. Whether it's inspiration or desperation driving you, Set a goal that fuels your determination. Track your progress, celebrate small wins, and remind yourself daily of the life you're striving for. With patience and persistence, your journey will lead you to the fluency and success you desire. The power of desperation and determination. Desperation and determination are two of the most powerful forces driving success. When the stakes are high, fear and uncertainty can either paralyze you or push you to take bold action. Harnessing these emotions can propel you toward achieving your goals. Success stories, turning desperation into triumph. Thomas Watson. After being fired, Thomas Watson didn't settle for survival. He set a goal to win. With tireless effort, he founded IBM, a company now worth billions. His success wasn't built on talent alone, but on a clear goal and relentless work. Tim Waterstone. Tim Waterstone, after losing his job, decided to start a bookstore business. Rejected by 8 banks, he finally secured a loan from a retiring loan officer who didn't care about the outcome. With that small chance, he built Waterstones, one of the UK's most renowned bookstore chains. These stories remind us that setbacks can become the foundation for extraordinary achievements. Finding your reason, the foundation of motivation. Why must you learn to speak English fluently? Not just want or need, but must. Understanding your deep motivation is essential. It transforms your goal into something personal, driving you to take consistent action. My journey, a personal why. For me, desperation was the spark. I knew if I didn't improve my broken English, I'd be stuck in labor work, sweating under the sun with little chance for a better life. But fluency promised more, a chance to work in an office, earn a good salary, and live with dignity. That vision was enough to fuel my determination. What is your why? Here are some possible reasons: a better job or career advancement, traveling the world with confidence, impressing friends, family, or colleagues, effective and fluent communication with others. Find your unique motivation. Write it down. Keep it visible. Let it drive you every day. Taking action. Learning from native speakers. Once your goal is clear, action is the next step. Mastering English fluency, especially speaking like a native, requires consistent and focused effort. 9 actions for fluency. Listen and repeat. Immediately listen to native materials and repeat phrases as quickly as possible. Don't worry about understanding. Focus on the sounds. Complete the material. Don't stop halfway. Repeat the entire piece, even if some parts are challenging. Record yourself. Record your voice as you practice. This allows you to track progress and pinpoint areas for improvement. Repeat and focus on tough spots. Go over challenging words or phrases repeatedly until they feel natural. Focus on speaking, not meaning. Understanding will come with time. Prioritize correct pronunciation and flow. Mimic everything. Copy the tone, rhythm, and speed of native speakers to sound authentic. Compare recordings regularly. Review your recordings to observe your progress and identify areas for refinement. Find new material. Continuously challenge yourself with new content at varying speeds to grow your skills. Repeat the process. Build on what you've learned, step by step. The importance of persistence. Consistency is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Consider this: only 1% of people who buy instructional books actually follow through and achieve their goals. The other 99% give up or jump to another method. The question is, will you commit to the process? The push-pull dynamic, desperation and vision. Desperation creates urgency, while vision fuels hope. To succeed, embrace both. Pain. If you don't act, what challenges or disappointments will persist? Pleasure. If you achieve your goal, what rewards and joys await? This dynamic creates a powerful motivation to keep moving forward. Example: visualization. Pain. Remaining stuck in a life of physical toil. Pleasure. Sitting in an office, dressed professionally, earning a good salary, and living a life of comfort. This dual perspective keeps you focused on the prize while avoiding stagnation. Inspiration. If they can, so can you. Take Ken, for example. Despite dropping out of middle school and starting to learn English at 20, he achieved fluency in just 6 months. His success wasn't because of innate talent, it was due to relentless practice and belief in himself. If Ken can do it, so can you. The key is not in where you start, but in the effort and dedication you put into the journey. Conclusion. Believe, act, achieve. Your belief in yourself is as important as the work you put in. Set a clear goal, fuel it with your reason, and persist through challenges. Whether inspired by hope or driven by desperation, take consistent action and trust the process. Repeat this mantra daily. I can do it. I will do it. With determination and the right strategy, fluency is not just a possibility, it's your future. Write down your goal. Now that you've identified your reason and source of motivation, it's time to solidify your commitment by writing down your goal. Yes, writing it down is crucial. When you write something, it becomes tangible, a constant reminder of what you're striving for. The golden rule of success. Here's a powerful insight. 80% of your success comes from having a clear goal. Only 20% comes from the work you put in. Without a solid goal, all your efforts won't amount to much. It's like trying to drive without knowing the destination. Your goal provides direction and purpose. Success stories. The power of goals and persistence. Thomas Watson. After being fired, Watson set a clear goal: to surpass the company that let him go. His determination led to the creation of IBM, now worth billions of dollars. Tim Waterstone fired from his job. Waterstone aimed to start a bookstore business. Despite being rejected by 8 banks, he persisted and secured a loan from the 9th bank. His determination paid off. Waterstones became one of the UK's largest bookstore chains, eventually selling for $47 million. These stories highlight that clear goals and persistence can turn setbacks into triumphs. Your goal is your guiding light. Your goal is the cornerstone of your success. No matter how tough things get or how often you stumble, it will keep you on track. It's your North Star. When I started my journey to speak English fluently, my goal was simple yet powerful. I didn't want to be stuck doing labor work for the rest of my life. That reason pushed me forward every day. What is your goal? Take a moment to write it down. Reflect on why you must succeed, not why you want to, need to, or should, but must. Step 2. Take action. With your goal in mind, it's time to act. Speaking English fluently requires consistent and active practice. Like learning Kung Fu, mastering English demands daily effort. Proven method to improve fluency. Action 1. Listen and repeat immediately. Listen to native English materials and repeat what you hear immediately. Don't overthink or try to memorize, just focus on mimicking the sounds. Action 2. Finish the entire material. Once you've practiced individual sentences, repeat the entire material from start to finish. This builds flow and rhythm. Action 3. Record yourself. Record your practice sessions. Listening to yourself helps track progress and refine your pronunciation. Action 4. Repeat again. Repetition solidifies patterns in your brain. Practice the material multiple times for fluency. Action 5. Focus on difficult parts. Identify and focus on challenging sections. Practice these repeatedly until they feel natural. Action 6. Ignore meaning. Focus on speaking. At this stage, don't worry about understanding every word. Focus solely on pronunciation, rhythm, and tone. Action 7. Practice 3 more times. Once comfortable, practice the material 3 additional times to reinforce your progress. Action 8. Record and compare. Record yourself again and compare it to your earlier attempts. Notice the improvements in areas for further work. Action 9. Choose new material. When you've mastered one piece, move on to new material. This keeps your learning fresh and challenging. Step 3. Follow through. The key to success is consistency. Make practice a daily habit. It's not enough to work hard once or twice. You must persist to see results.
A message for you. Thank you for watching and joining me on this journey to mastering English fluency. I'm here to guide and support you every step of the way. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, support the channel. Your support inspires me to continue creating premium materials for you. Together, we'll achieve your goals. Have a great day, and remember, you can and will succeed.